I'm just waiting for the time to start. Sounds great. Um, Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining our session today, the InnoFact Show Talks. I'm Abhishek, the founder of Truly Expo and the InnoFact Show. I welcome all of the participants, the speakers, and the participants on our webinar today. Right. Today's topic is actually startups. That's very close to my heart. So startups disrupting the hospitality and entertainment industry, right? And on this note, I would love to welcome our speakers, and I'd love to do a quick introduction to them. So first is Peter Daly. Peter is actually a co-founder and founder of Get In Local. He is hyper passionate about mobile marketing, and he has been quite active into the marketing and hospital marketing of the various industries. He had been head of visa sales into the US market as well. Next, we have, welcome, Peter. We have Maurizio. Maurizio comes from a technology background. He is CTO of Bedrooms at this stage of time, and he has been venturing multiple startups across Europe and US and assisting and mentoring multiple startups as well. So he comes from a technology background. He has been contributing not only onto the startup ecosystem, but he has been one of the very initial pioneer members of agile engineering early days in Europe as well. So welcome, Maurizio. Next, we have Elle. Elle is the founder of Tip Brightly. She comes from a fintech background. And I would say that her innovative and patented technology actually brings the technology in such a way that it actually um, helps the tipping workers into the digital economy as well, right? I'm sure she would add a lot of value and things into it, and her innovation has been also recognized by Skift as well. So welcome, El. And last but not least is Yanis. Yanis actually brings the hospitality industry to us the most way. He has been a passionate traveler across his career. He has been into travel industry the most. He's the founder of Hotels by Day. I'm sure all of us know Hotels by Night, but he brought the great idea of Hotels by Night Day, and we look forward to hear from you, Yanis. So welcome all of you on the webinar, and what I would love to do is that first give you a little more background about the InnoFact show to start with, and then we'll take it ahead. So quickly, the InnoFact show is the first show being brought by Truly Expo as the organizer. This show is going to take place on 8th and 9th of June in Las Vegas, targeting the US market. Though currently this event would take place completely virtually, but we intend to bring it almost 2,000 odd professionals onto the show, along with numerous exhibitors, sponsors, and speakers on the show. So I look forward to welcome you all to the InnoFact show and the InnoFact show talks, right? So let me just quickly start with Peter on the right top of my screen per se. Is that Peter? Would you like to share your experience about Get In Local? What does Get In Local brings to the startup ecosystem and the hospitality industry? Over to you.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and thank you everyone from the panelists as well as those attending the webinar. So, as mentioned earlier, my name is Pete Daly. I am co-founder of Get Local, and let me tell you a little bit about Get Local and what we do. So, we created the very first self-service mobile marketing platform that provides in-destination marketing and discovery. So I try to unpack all those things I just said. So first self-service for a business, and it provides a true in-destination experience to travelers for discover things that are nearby as they plan their travels. Okay? And so our solution is very dynamic. It, as I said, provides in-destination discovery. So this way people can learn about places to visit, things to do, places to shop, based upon where they are at the present time. So the app is dynamic and it adjusts according to the position of the individual in proximity to those businesses. So as an example, if you're in New York City, just as one example, you will be shown an experience. And as you travel about the city, go downtown to discover something else, your mobile experience changes and shows you what's relevant to where you are located at that point in time. And that include, again, attractions, things to do, everything from a bike rental to a museum, to a restaurant, to some shopping, whatever, canoe rental. There's actually kayak rentals on the Hudson River in New York, believe it or not. So you get to discover all those unique things about where you are and how to interact with them. We also have a very, very powerful solution that's centric around the lodging and hospitality industry. And this is, I'll say it's a transformative solution. So the way our mobile platform works, it allows a lodging property to create their own mobile presence and create marketing communications. But more importantly, when a consumer downloads the app and registers their app while on premises, we provide a connection that allows that business to send them automated and scheduled messaging. So as an example, someone checks into a hotel, they download the app because they saw the QR code or information around, and now that hotel has the ability to send an automated message to that individual, either combination of a welcome message or inviting them to join their loyalty and rewards program, or have a visit of the spa or the restaurant or the gift shop or any other rooftop bar. Make them aware of what is around them. That's the messaging capability. And then as that individual leaves their visit at that hotel, either they're out exploring the town or on further travels, that hotel property still has the ability to send another future message to re-engage that customer and bring them back for a future event. Let's say a summer fling, summer specials. And the nice thing is they also have the ability to connect directly to that hotel's reservation booking system. So it's a direct connection. And this is where transformatively, the hotel now is not reliant on third-party organizations to resell and broker those transactions. They're creating a direct connection for that consumer to interact. Okay. Now, just a little bit further, and you can stop me if I go too long, because I could talk quite a bit about this. But as someone down the app and goes to your hotel, for example, as they leave about their day, it's kind of like guest services or a concierge in the palm of their hand. So as you travel about, you don't have to bring paper brochures and flyers that are all gone out of the hotel rooms and the lobbies due to COVID and for sustainability reasons as well. All that material is basically going away. So now the guests have a place to decide and determine what's around them. And as they go about their travels, they take that experience with them, which is the wonderful thing. And you can interact with businesses directly. Yes.
So Peter, that's a really nice thing when Getting Local actually not only brings the geo-contextual attractions on the mobile phone, but also the in-house or in-venue experience as well. So that's really great. I'll certainly come back to you because your introduction certainly gives a jump towards a travel focus. So I'll go to Yanis and ask, like, how is like hotels by day? What was your motivation behind hotels by day, and what exactly is the value proposition you bring on the table actually?
Sure. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for this opportunity. Thank you, panel, for being here as well. Hotels by Day was launched in 2015 with 12 hotels at that time. We now have over 2,000 hotels. But the problem was quite simple. I was a travel agent and a tour operator with an increasing need of customers that wanted flexibility in their hotel stays. Erratic flight behaviors, you land at 7 a.m., you want to check into your hotel right away, nothing can be guaranteed. And so when I spoke to one hotelier in particular, in which I was like, you got to help me out. You got 260 keys in your hotel. Is it possible you cannot find a room? And he's like, no, I got all the inventory in the world. I just don't have the protocol and the technology to be able to process flexibility, to be able to process extra time without disrupting my overnight and my planning and my housekeeping and everything like that. So I'm like, okay, seems that we are having a classic problem in which no entrepreneur has gotten into so far, which is to try to solve a pain point in the market with technology, protocol, and essentially creating a marketplace. So we started, as I mentioned before, with 12 hotels. We now have 2,000. And the idea is to be able to process flexibility. At first with day rooms, so essentially rooms for a few hours during the day. We thought about the travelers, the long layovers, the people that want to refresh, recharge, work in privacy, meet in privacy, whatever it is. And then the more we grew, the more we realized that we actually were um, solving a pain point that's actually bigger for the hotelier. And that
Mhm.
pain point is the following, and I'll stop my presentation there, so don't worry, I'm not going to be speaking too long. Um, the pain point is the following. Um, a hotel is essentially a big box that, they architecturally expensive to build, operationally expensive to run, and they absorb all those costs with only one sector of the demand, which is the overnight stays. And yet they're left with plenty of inventory during the day, not just rooms, but also the amenities. So we saw that our customers are actually using or booking a hotel room for the day so that they can use the amenities and daycation for the day. And lately during COVID, we see that actually they're using our hotel rooms as a work station so that they can escape home and they can work from the privacy and the duty of care protocols of a hotel room that is safe, clean, and backed by the biggest brands in the world. So that whole flexibility, not just of time, but also of space, is becoming more and more a solution that the customers need.
That's really great, Giannis. The interesting thing I liked about the vacation, that's really nice concept. Like you're asking people to go on a vacation, but I'm sure your customers would also be getting a lot of heat or a competition from the co-working kind of space as well. Because when I run through your site, it saw like you can get the hotel for a working as well. So co-working would also be a great competition kind of an environment for you.
Yeah, yeah, it is in a different format. So if you're looking for flex office, so basically, you COVID is you're the HR, head manager department, and the office is not part of the equation in the future, or maybe possibly less so, right? So it seems that the future of work is all about having less office time and then more whatever time. And so if you think that, so if you need to place your staff at different
Mhm.
places that are safe, you need to find a
Mhm.
co-working space.
Mhm.
You need to guarantee that space for a certain time as well, and you're still unsure what to do with the future of work. And so it's either you find a co-working space or you're telling your staff, oh, you can work from a cafe or you work from home. But after 2 years of being stuck at home, or a year and a half, hopefully very soon we're all out, uh, the last thing you want to work from is home. So we think that daytime hotel space is a perfect solution for the future of work because, as I said before, it's backed by the biggest brands, for one. And two, it is giving you this new wave of working, which includes the lifestyle into work, right? So you work from the privacy of a hotel with all the furniture that you need, like ergonomical furniture. It has a comfortable desk and chair, which, by the way, at most times is actually more comfortable than what you can get from a co-working space. It has strong coffee, strong Wi-Fi. So again, it hits all the pain points of a worker. But in addition to that, you can go to the gym for a few minutes or for half an hour or an hour. You can swim in the pool. You can use the spa. So it gives you this perspective that, you're not stuck at work the whole day. You can do other things, and yet you can be very productive because we all know that if you find 10 minutes of shut-eye because you've got the bed right behind you, you will be more productive in the next 3 hours of the day, right? So that our solution, I think, is really well set for the future of hospitality, work,
Yes.
and leisure.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'll just give another interesting example. Is one of the Indian startup that's called Social. That's actually a chain of restaurants, And what
Uh-huh.
they do is that they know that their restaurants and pubs are actually busy only towards the late evening timings.
Yeah.
And they are giving a subscription of $100 subscription for
Yeah.
people to come and work in their spaces during
Yeah.
the daytime. So it's a
Yeah.
very interesting thing. I'll come back to you. So
Yeah.
I'll come to L now. So L, very interesting concept, fintech, fintech and hospitality combined together. That's a very amazing thing, because most of the time when you talk about fintech, people talk about like, okay, giving loans, investments, insurance, and you bringing the fintech industry back to the hospitality industry, and most importantly, the people who would not have thought to use probably the fintech tech per se. So over to you. Love to hear what exactly Tip Brightly is doing and solving the problem for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting that you framed it that way. And by the way, Giannis, I'd love to talk with you after the panel, and it's great to meet all of you. So I'm going to start with why I started Tip Brightly. And prior to launching the company, my career was in academia, not in hospitality or financial services. I worked as a social scientist at Stanford. Specifically, I was a qualitative researcher in education, and I was focused on innovation and systems change. I also worked on issues of diversity, equity, inclusion, access, which are really important right now in this context. And I fell into fintech and mobile payments, trying to solve a problem that is very much related to that, and that's where the employees lie. So Tip Brightly is an early stage fintech and social impact startup. We're based in the Bay Area, and our mission is to help 5.5 million service workers in the US to recover their cash tips, specifically workers whose incomes rely on cash in an increasingly cashless society. And what we've done to solve this problem is build a mobile payments platform. And it enables anyone with a mobile phone to leave a tip instantly and give feedback within the flow by scanning a QR code, which we all know is just ubiquitous now. And no mobile app is required, which makes us distinct from peer-to-peer payments like Venmo or PayPal. It's totally web-based. So it takes out the friction that when we started the company, we found was a barrier. Like Giannis, we're working with hotels, but we're also working with a food and beverage in sector, tourism, entertainment. Musicians have come to us. So it's really like a patchwork quilt of industries whose employees, members rely on those cash tips. And though we were and still are very much focused on this vertical, during the pandemic, you had all of these players come to us, and it's just a time when we wanted to help who we could, and our technology is a solution that really fits a lot of these industries. So we're continuing to work with those and delivery services, a lot of these. And we're using mobile payments to disrupt service tipping for all stakeholders in the service ecosystem in three ways. There is the actual experience of tipping, which we all have been in that experience or situation where we wanted to leave a tip, but we didn't have cash. So we're changing that experience, solving that pain point. But in doing so, we're increasing employee earnings through that experience. And the research shows that when you use mobile technology, like some of the payments that are integrated into POS systems, and you use tipping there, which I have a problem with, but tips have increased in 20 to 30%, and we're finding that as well. People are tipping more, and they're tipping higher. So, why did I get into this? It's very personal. I mean, one is that I found myself increasingly without cash, And I didn't like this situation. It was emotionally disturbing to me because I'm a big tipper, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And so this kept happening over and over as we're moving to, this cashless society. And now with COVID, it's contactless. So there's another accelerant here with contactless tipping. So, I found myself traveling in my previous career, and I wanted to leave a tip for the housekeeper. And I had just finished paying my bills by phone, sending money to my sister. I was rebalancing my portfolio, and yet I couldn't leave, this simple tip. And, it struck me, we have this complex financial technology, and it just wasn't accessible to, and to benefit those who could really use it. And, we're looking at a disproportionate, negative impact on service workers. So the problem for me was personal because, firstly, I'm a woman, and 99% of the housekeepers in hotels are women. Women also make up about 70% of the service industry employees. And they spend their earnings on the home and their children. And I know this because my mother was a hotel housekeeper. And, growing up, I always knew when she earned tips because she would take my siblings and I to McDonald's.
Well, that's an
So,
interesting thing actually. So when you said like the way the micro payment, so I would call that as actually a
yes,
micro payment model, and the eastern part of the world has actually overgrown on these models of QR code and micro payments. I really understand like that's the way this could be actually accessed back to that. But I would love to understand this thing like, is it like a hotel or restaurant actually migrating completely to digital tipping, or are they doing both, and has it any impact on either of the two directions?
yeah. Right now, we're not really going into the food and beverage sector
Oh,
because tipping is so established and in part of the guest experience. Though I will say, for the on-demand platforms, there is a place to disrupt that tipping by decoupling the tipping in the platform to,
very true.
the actual interaction. So we're really focused on hotels and valets and, like I said, places where they cannot receive income, and it's important. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, you did. And
Yeah.
there, very interestingly, I would add here is that my next question would have been that when it comes down to restaurants or pubs, the tipping is actually part of the same transaction. That's a very, very common thing.
Yeah,
But
that's
when
right.
you talk about tipping to valet or typical housekeeping, it's a completely an independent transaction to take place, and that makes life much easier. Otherwise, you need to ensure that the whole transaction is taking place digitally. So that's a very, very
Exactly.
interesting thing. I'm sorry, I'll come
Yeah.
back to you. I'm sorry for that.
And it is the QR code that makes that possible. And that's very interesting too. You have mobile payments and QR codes, and it's just confluence that has enabled this disruption. And the driving the disruption is very much a personal mission. And I think that's, when we get into a conversation about disruption, so why do we do it? What drives us?
Sure. So over to Maurizio. So Maurizio, you come from a technology background. You are a CTO of Bidroom right now. So why don't you tell us like what exactly Bidroom is actually solving a problem? And I'm sure your experience onto multiple startups will really add value on really finding the value proposition you bring on the table and the technology which is disrupting it.
Yeah, sure. So, hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. And yes, I joined Bidroom 2 years ago, and I was actually in San Francisco doing advising other startups, and I was looking for the next real hands-on job, where to join another startup that was really interesting. And I heard about Bidroom, and I found this concept very interesting. So actually, Bidroom is the first membership-based OTA in the industry, so bringing the membership approach to the travel industry. And and they started in this way because of the, as you know, the hefty commissions that OTAs, online travel agencies, usually ask for hotels and properties, and they wanted to help this entire industry by removing these commissions. And so the answer was having a membership for travelers and for hoteliers. So it's actually a very simple approach that helps both sides. And in this way, this is a closed platform, Bidroom. So they are not, hoteliers don't need to follow the parity rate terms in their contracts with other OTAs, so they can provide better discounts to, better prices than those that you can find in any other OTA with public prices. And this discount is actually directly given to the traveler. So the traveler gets better prices, and hoteliers just have to give up a small discount, and that is usually around 10%, but up to 25% usually. And this is actually better than the commission that they usually pay to other OTAs, so they're very happy. And so the formula was very successful, and more than 100,000 hotels joined initially the Bidroom. Now we are actually, and then we have a direct, let's say, contact with hotels. We contract them directly, and now we're actually selecting and making the selections of this hotel more and more aligned with our style, what we expect that people and the segment of the market that we are serving want to see on our platform. And so this was already a very interesting formula, very good business model. I like it a lot. And so I joined the company actually to bring something different. So I brought a more technology-focused approach in the company. And because in this industry, in the travel industry, there is a lot to grow, to evolve in these terms. And as you said, I come I worked in many other industries where technology historically is more advanced, and I found that there is a lot that can be improved in the travel industry, and especially we found, for example, there is a pain in the industry that is the connectivity, how to get directly to the hotelier, how to get to the property, how to reach it. And it's so fragmented. There is really a lot of solutions, too many solutions. And the problem is that usually an hotelier, it's not a technology expert. So I don't know if there is the vendor of a PMS or property management system or of a channel that, I don't know, the salespersons go visit the hotelier and they buy more or less everything because they cannot actually see the difference. But there are a lot of differences. So the problem is that it is very fragmented, this area of the connectivity, and there are actually quality can be really improved. And it is a big barrier to the entrance in this area because connecting to the hotel directly, it is very complex, not in terms of technology, but actually to cover all these possible way to connect to hoteliers. And of course, hoteliers want to be directly connected to agencies. So this is a real strong problem. And there are standards, but they were kind of useless because everybody uses the standards. The fraction of the standards that they like the most. So it's like not having a standard. And so we have been working in this area a lot.
So you're right, Gaurav. You actually, just to add here is that I have actually worked on this problem statement a little bit. But very interestingly, when you say that a hotelier has an inventory and he has to put together to multiple OTAs, it becomes challenging, certainly, and they end up sometimes creating challenges. But interestingly, what I heard from you about Bidroom is that it's a closed loop system, not an open loop system. So I'd love to understand why. And another question that comes to me is that when it comes down to uh, a consumer, so this question is probably from a consumer perspective, that if I'm bidding for a room and I lose that bid, right? If I understand the concept by the name itself, then I don't have the room, right? What do I do?
I have to
So
stop
I
it.
need to like
I have to
plan it
stop you here.
long. Huh?
Because actually, I have to stop you here because actually we are not. So this is the name Bidroom is not. It is. I know it is about bidding, but it is not
Oh,
the model anymore. So they
oh,
actually started this way, and then they moved to a general approach of our OTA. So we actually get the prices directly, discounted prices from the
okay,
hoteliers, and then so there is no actually bidding here.
okay.
And to answer your other question, why it is closed, it is closed. It is not actually closed. It is you just have to subscribe to this service. So it is actually more
Oh,
uh, close to the approach to the traveler. The point is, what is the point? Is that so far, the industry is in this booking an hotel like a transactional thing. So you need to go somewhere, you book an hotel, but then you need to book a flight, you need to book some experiences, you need to book the taxi, you need to book a lot of things. And all these booking activities are actually made on different platforms, in different ways, and you need to keep all this information together with you. And so it is and this is something that you don't want to start again and again every time you are traveling. And traveling is a part of our life. It is most people just they enjoy life by traveling. That's the most I don't know enjoyable activity probably that we do. We explore the world by traveling. And so we are focusing more and more for travel lovers, those that actually love traveling and want to make this experience nice. Before, a lot of OTAs were actually, it was like the supermarket with a lot of lights. Hurry up, you have to hurry. This is the last one. Take this room. It is so. It was actually a stressful experience, an experience
hmm.
that makes you that, in my opinion, as a traveler, booking my trips was the worst part of every trip. It's right. Selecting the right
Very true.
room, or I got the best one or not, and then you have to hurry up, and then you have to book something, and then you cannot cancel. The flight changed, or so you don't know what to do. So there is a lot that can be done in this industry. So we are
Very true.
actually expanding. We want to give a more enjoyable experience to our users. So we are expanding this approach to make this, uh, let's see, a stress-free experience. It is, most people going to vacation must be nice to go on vacation, it's enjoyable. And so you want to trip, you want to plan your trip and put all together all the things you can do, all the experiences you can have. So you can put together multiple reservations for multiple experiences. And then you can, being part of a membership-based system, this gives you a lot of advantages, like, for example, the ability to access benefits that are exclusive for members as special prizes, fine, but also special services and benefits that only members can have. And we think this is a very successful approach to make this.
So, Maurizio, let's take this journey to the next level. That when we have actually heard from the four very different innovative startups coming in, I'd like to go back to the Peter and would love to understand. Like he holds almost 30 years of experience in the industry, different companies on the sales marketing side. How do you think, like in the current timings of crisis, pandemic, especially when travel is really hurt the most, right? Your startup or other startups are facing challenges reaching to the customers and probably getting the traction from the investors as well. What's your view? What's your experience? Uh, Peter, you're mute, it seems.
Thank you. All right, so just as a background, my experience has always been in sales, marketing, and technology deployment, if you will. Most recently, I was with Visa, where we developed and deployed and the utilization of many different payment types. So I'm always involved in what's needed for the business to transact with their customers. Okay. So now, as you asked, this COVID situation, the pandemic has affected everyone in so many terrible ways. But when we look at the actions that we would take to help these businesses, we find that businesses, at least in the hospitality industry and travel industry, severely impacted as far as their income, but also the staffing. They've reduced their staffing dramatically. So they're working with, bare bones organization. Their cash flow is tight. And they have to rethink the way they're going to work in today's environment and tomorrow as they emerge out. Okay. So that's, we kind of aligned our business to help them through that emergence from where they are to become more efficient, right? More dynamic in the sense of mobile communications, and more sustainable too, because a lot of the legacy applications were all mailings and paper-based and things of that nature. That basically that's history to a large extent. So that's how we focused our approach for business, getting very well received by the hotel industry. Putting on literally hundreds of new hotel properties per day are coming on board because this is a way to help their guests experience what's around their property for the very reason why they came to that hotel, what is around there to discover and do. And that also helps them connect with those customers digitally to engage them while they're on premises as well as post. Now,
so your customers are primarily the hotels and the venues and attractions, right? And your customer acquisition from Getting Local's perspective, is it like all like viral, or how is it happening? What are you doing differently to acquire customers here from yours?
On the business side or the consumer side?
On the business side, actually.
On the business side, okay. So an expansive activities are underway. We worked with trade groups, right? Tourism organizations, large enterprises of hotel organizations and resorts. So we're working those networks, if you will, and getting very good interest and also traction. So that's how we're working with the hotels. And the hotel, in many respects, becomes that point of awareness for the consumer. So whether they're a local traveler or a long distance traveler, when they have to stay somewhere, and when they stay at the hotel, they're presented with this opportunity to download the app to discover what's around. That creates that halo effect, if you will, and the consumers start to come into the play. Plus, we're doing, on the consumer side, we're doing some social media advertisements, some media placements. We're actually familiar with Times Square in New York, Grand Central Station in New York. We're advertising on their digital boards. So people travel through, they can see the app and learn more about discovering the area. QR code, download the app. So that's how we're trying to balance both business, bring the businesses on, and the consumers to consume the product.
So I'll go to L again. And L, what do you say? Like, means you coming from an academic background to the fintech industry. What do you think? Like, what are the other innovations into fintech or the other kind of startups that are actually trying to bring disruptions to the industry? L, you are also mute.
Yeah, so, as far as mobile payments being used, I mean, that is a big disruptor in itself, right? So they're being used in contactless ways to mostly around, how do you enable the payments to not be contactless? That's where the technology is. But as far as fintech it's fairly nascent, I'm seeing, because they are tied so much to credit cards and other points of, different types of cashless transactions. So that's been hard. It's a barrier that you have to really, change. But as far as other companies, there are a handful of us that are trying to disrupt the service tipping for sure. And the difference in the approaches are, pretty much, some are mobile payment apps. Two others are really focused on hotels. Some, I would say, are marketing in a different way, really focused on the guest experience and more to D2C. So what we've learned, and this is what I think, where my background really makes it different, is that when we're talking to employers and hotels, really thinking about tipping as a relational transaction and not just a transactional one, when you're actually creating value through that experience because the guest has value and they're having a better experience. The employee is generating value through improved morale and motivation. And that has this other knock-on effect to employer retention and
Sure.
recruitment. So, I'm not, in terms of like how other fintech is disrupting the industry. It's usually through point of service, and yeah, just pretty much that I can say. But there's another area of disruption that is an unintended consequence of what we're doing. And I think disruption can be intentional, but it can also be lead to unintended consequences, negative or positive. And the combination of the transaction and also the employee, where they're linked, is actually generating never seen before analytics. Performance analytics, transactional analytics, and they're giving rise to new ways of looking at performance because tipping has always been under the table and opaque. And so, just to go on about the data is really pointing to, who's performing better, and that's never had any data to it. And they're also it's also changing practices. So we have one hotel, for example, that is now doing service tipping for hotels. It's upending housekeeping, where it used to be, the housekeeper who changed the room would get the tip, right? We all know that. But it's now where it's improving this personal connection to the housekeeper because it's the housekeeper who is presenting the room and human connection. So when guests come in, they see, oh, this Yadis or whoever is picking, clean this room, and so they're tipping more. It's very different. It's sort of like almost taking the food and beverage where you have your service and then you present it.
Very
So yeah.
interesting. What I'll do is that I'll just take a few questions. I'm now in our discussion. I'll just bring in questions from the participants, other participants as well. So there's a question from Roger 2L that says that what a great method to capture all the gratuity opportunities in this. Is you just capture all of that? Means one interesting idea I liked is like a performance analytics about all the employees. That's really a wonderful idea, right? But how do you think like on this question?
Oh, sorry. So what is can you recast the question again?
The Roger is asking that what a great method to capture all gratuity opportunities, probably to the hotels or employers actually, if it's digital.
Yeah, what are the opportunities to capture all the different opportunities within the hotel? Yeah.
It seems like it's going in this way that, say, for example, if digitally the money is coming, it probably is lending up to the hotel owner or the hotel per se. And then in that case, do you think that it would rather create more opaque, that all the money is flowing first to the hotel and then it's getting distributed to the staff?
Yeah, so it is creating more transparency, I think, in terms of the tipping. So by, it's taking the pain point out of management, who would typically have to make sure that they, they distributed the tips. And our system is such that the employees are receiving the tips directly and it goes into their accounts. So it's more empowering to the staff and the employees to get those tips directly, and it's also enabling the management to see what's actually happening with those tips. I hope I'm answering the question. I feel like I'm not, but does that help, Roger?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does, and I'm sure
so
Roger will answer that it doesn't really help.
Yeah, it's taking the transaction and really, as you follow it through, it's becoming, a different. It's not just about the compensation anymore. It's really about what it says about the interaction and how it helps the management, use that to as an indicator, and it's also enabling that employee to do all kinds of things with that money. I think the bigger vision I have about fintech, and is again it's about employees, is that ultimately they're all on a network who can benefit from different types of financial products. So it really, I think, is about a mission to empower low-wage service industry workers through a disruption that will actually help the entire industry, and it has value for them.
Sure. Yanis, over to you on one interesting question that coming from the audience is like how hotels are responding to the idea of flexible stay, because hotels may compromise compromise on experience spectrum while taking the booking for a daytime, which is selling point for any day, for any hotel.
Yeah. Before I answer that, I'd like to go back to the point that Elle was mentioning about tipping at hotels. And Elle, I want to share with you a very brief story. In 2017, our company created some generous envelopes, which we called them generous envelopes. So basically, we crafted some very cute envelopes for tipping the housekeeping, because we understood that we were giving more work to them without rewarding them. We were rewarding the general manager, the revenue manager, the sales and marketing manager, but not, the housekeeper or the housekeeper managers. We tested it on 10 hotels, just so you know, 2017. We tested our generous envelopes in 10 hotels in New York, and our data showed that with the envelope, the customer tipped 7% more than before. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. Yeah,
sure thing. I'd love to talk more, as you said.
It's consistent for between 4 and 8%. We're seeing for hotels, and that's obviously impacting retention, improving that.
Super. So Abhishek, about the question of how our hotels reacted, they're reacting better and better. At first, they hated it. It's like the Gandhi quote. At first they fight you. No, first they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And it's
I like that.
it's a very similar pattern for Hotels by Day. At first they hated it, then they tasted it, and then they like it. It's a manual process. It goes back to the previous point of technology in our hospitality being completely fragmented. I would call it disintegrated more than fragmented. It's a terrible ecosystem to connect to. And unfortunately, there's not too many tools for hospitality to be able to connect to us as a channel for sales of daytime spaces. But we're getting there. I have to say, this pandemic actually has turned out to be quite productive for the company. Yes, we lost.
Have you seen more response coming from a large scale hotel chains, or small boutique hotels? What's your experience actually?
It's from all over the board. Large scale hotels, it might surprise people outside of this industry, are not necessarily run by those brands. So it's more franchisee that owns the walls, that owns the operations, that runs the operation, then that uses the brand as the marketing channel. And so therefore, the brand does not really get involved in that decision-making process. It's the management companies, the hotel manager per se sometimes. And so we have almost an equal number of independent versus one brand versus another brand versus another brand. So like we've got all major brands, the Hiltons, the Marriotts, the IHG, and they have an equal number of hotels on Hotels by Day, as well as the independents. I have to say though, the independents are quite squeezed because of COVID. So it has both its opportunity and its liabilities with that, but it's quite disruptive to them. So we're trying our best to really help the independent portfolio of hotels on Hotels by Day right now.
Yeah. That
So
resonates
sure, please. So what I was saying is that, Yanis, that in that case, does Hotels by Day, I can't book for Hotels by Night, or is it just the day booking?
So it's Hotel
Are you spreading on to the other OTAs?
So it's Hotel Tonight, and it's a great company. It's a great app, and it's a great guy running it. I like Sam a lot. Um, Actually, he's my hero, and I told him so. The difference between them and us is that they do last minute night stays. We do not necessarily last minute day stays. And so I think we're complementary, we're supplementary, and more we're becoming necessary.
Okay, lovely. Yes, I fairly agree with you. Means that's a dead inventory in the daytime. It's a great way to utilize it. So Mauricio,
Abhishek, I
yeah, please.
apologize. I have a hard stop in 5 minutes. I apologize. I have another conference to go
We'll be
to.
done in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
No,
So Mauricio,
I might just have to jump.
sure. So as a last question from means though there are a lot of questions coming in. So Mauricio, what I would say is that with your experience to multiple startups across your experience, the question is that startups, investors, valuation can't be avoided, right? And this year has been really a desperate year with the pandemic in hand, right? How do you see investors reacting to the startups, the innovative ideas at that stage of time? Are they being very selective, or are they really looking for great opportunities in the market?
Well, what I've seen is that there are different approaches. Of course, there is. I see that investors are very interested in this area in general because they know that there is the possibility to innovate. It's not innovating enough, this industry, most probably. So there are good, and it's actually difficult to grow in a B2C area in traveling. It requires hundreds of millions of marketing spending. It is very difficult to be known in this area. There are some very big elephants in the room, and they're very difficult to grow in this area. So B2C is actually a difficult area here. And but there are a lot of companies that are innovating with the kind of services that are so they are changing the way travelers can experience their trips by introducing, I don't know, different experiences, insurance, or contactless approaches in the hotel, and so many different things. And these are the areas where actually it is easier to go directly with a B2B approach, directly to hoteliers, to the companies or big chains in some cases, and actually start expanding this approach and have their solutions be adopted by many. And so in the end, the users get this innovation in their hands and they like it. I would say that these are the kind of things where investors are interested the most, where you can have a B2B, maybe B2B to C approach, and where it's easier to grow without huge spending to reach the consumer market.
So Mauricio, the interesting thing is that for me, I'm very passionate about startups. I connect with startups very regularly across the globe, especially a number of startups, very early stage startups I connect with. So I would say that time is always a constraint about talking to startups, connecting with the startups, knowing more about their stories. That's always really great time. So I would say that all four of you coming with different experiences across the globe and across the different verticals of industry, you bring a great experience. And I'm sure beyond this webinar also, you will get a great opportunity to interact with. But I'd like to extend what Maurizio said is that there is no truly innovation or new things coming up into the hospitality industry. And for the same, what we are trying to do at Truly Expo or the InnoFact show is that we brought in a contest or an award show as a truly disruptive awards, which would be key part of our show in the InnoFact show in June 8th and 9th. And what we are looking forward for is a participation from a really disruptive innovators across the globe who are contributing towards the hospitality and entertainment industry. We look forward, that's a free entry for everybody to participate in. And the winners, we would have 5 winners coming out of it. And these 5 winners would get an opportunity to speak at the Disruptive Innovation session in the InnoFact show, as well as they would also get an opportunity to be exhibit their product into the exhibition, into the InnoFact show. So I really look forward. I'd love to invite you, all of you, if you have not done, to the Truly Disruptive award. And I look forward for connecting with you again offline as a personal interest onto these startups as well. So thanks a lot, Yanis. I guess I would have done justice with your 5-minute break.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. Appreciate it.
So thanks a lot. I look forward to connecting with you again. And thanks all the participants for listening to us. I look forward for you at the Truly Expo first event, that's the InnoFact show, and your great questions to all our speakers. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Bye-bye.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.